Tell me, O Ram, how do the earth and all the rest of it appear in this dream city? By whom has all this been fashioned? What is their real nature? And what is their function? We believe that this is reality, don't we? We believe that this is physical reality. It's referred to here as the dream city, or we could say it's the dream world. We've been taught in the Yoga Vasishta that what we think of as reality is actually of the nature of dream. And this isn't a metaphor. It has no more substance than a dream. We have an instinctive reaction against this teaching, but this is part of the trick of consciousness. Whatever consciousness experiences, it puts in this feeling of reality. It puts it in. The scientists, the physicists, do their best to get over that feeling, the feeling that whatever you believe is real. But they operate according to their own very definite beliefs. They might believe that everything is made up of matter. Or they might believe that there's one grand unified theorem which drives them on. They believe that the world is consistent. These are their beliefs. They believe that nature can be apprehended by rational thought. And they believe also that there's a reality beneath the senses, a reality which cannot be known, except perhaps through mathematics, is completely independent of any kind of empirical experience. It underlies the experience of our senses. This is a fundamental assumption of the scientists, and it's only an assumption. We'll hear more about that in a minute, I think. Ram said, "The self of the infinite consciousness alone is the reality of all this. The earth, the mountains, etc., and the self is like space, formless and supportless." So we've got the mighty examples of the earth and the mountains. The mountains are these representatives of solidity. How can something as majestic and solid as mountains be self or infinite consciousness? Well, this is what we have to understand, how this can be so. They're actually formless and supportless. They have no essential substance any more than the mountains in a dream do. And they have no support. There's nothing behind them. There's no underlying reality, any more than the mountains in a dream. What is the reality of the mountains in a dream? All these have not been created at all. This notion that arises in consciousness is known as the mind, and it is the mind alone that exists as all this. Solidity is a sensory experience. It's one that's purely a sensory experience. I was doing a bit of research on this on the internet, and it's not. The first entry on solidity that I got was actually a Buddhist context, which was curious. Solidity and the sense of touch are quite mysterious things. If you look into how the sense of touch operates, it's very difficult to get a clear explanation or a non-specialized explanation. There's lots of explanations for how the sense of sight operates, but the sense of touch is basically nerve endings, isn't it, giving rise to electrical signals, which again are somehow translated into the sense of touch. This grand non sequitur of electrical signals being translated into the totality of our experience. But what is solidity? What is the sense of resistance that we have? I'm touching this computer mouse. What is happening? What is this solidity which I'm meeting, which I'm sensing? And again, there don't seem to be many explanations for it readily available. One of the explanations is that you're not actually touching anything. What you're experiencing is electrical resistance. the electrons in my fingertips are reacting against the electrons in the atoms of the mouse. So actually touch isn't touch at all. You're not actually touching anything, it's just the opposite. Touch is actually non-touch. Touch is resistance. All we can say is there's a sensation of resistance. And if the story of the electrostatic resistance satisfies you, then fair enough. But all we've got basically is a sense of resistance. We've got the sensation of resistance. That's the reality, the sensation of resistance. If I put the mouse on my hand here, and I put my other hand on top of it, the sensation is different to what it would be if there was no mouse there. So there's a difference of sensation, and we can create any story we like about it. But what we have to just be with is that sensation. Time, space, and all the rest of it are the appearance of the consciousness. These are the stories that we make based on sensation. Time, space, and all the rest of it are the appearance of the consciousness. Even so are the mountains nothing but consciousness. All the elements are consciousness too. It is consciousness alone that is the essence of the characteristic of the elements, like solidity of the earth, fluidity of water, etc. In fact, however, the earth and the other elements do not exist. How can we say they exist? All we've got is an experience of resistance. We might have a certain image, which is changing all the time. The sense of touch tends not to change. We've still got the sense of resistance, even if the visual object disappears. But that's all we've got. That's all we've got. Everything else is the story told by consciousness. The infinite consciousness alone exists. It is because of the liquidity of water that one ocean is able to give rise to waves and currents. It is because of the infinite potentiality of consciousness that it is similarly able to appear to be diverse. When the notion of solidity and hardness arises in it, it becomes a mountain. Even so with all the other objects. So we've got this notion of solidity. It's based on a sensation of resistance or sensation of not being able to move in a particular way. Consciousness itself does not undergo any change in all this. The notions of I, you, etc. arise in it without any reason or cause, and they are non-different from consciousness. The mind, buddhi, ego sense, the five elements, and all this world appearance exist in the infinite consciousness, non-different from it. Nothing has been created, nothing is lost. There's a flow of sensations, the stream of experiencing. When you focus on something like the breath, if you've done breathing concentration or breathing awareness exercises, concentration exercises, then as your awareness becomes subtler, as your breath becomes subtler, a very peculiar thing happens. Is what you're concentrating on, is what you're focusing on, real or imaginary? Are you actually focusing on something? Or are you focusing on an idea of something? The distinction disappears.